Yes, thank you so very much for giving me the chance to present some of the work we are conducting. And as a matter of fact, since the last 10 years, I'm heading the Bonn International Center for Conversion, or just remember it's big, not really big with G, we are relatively small, it's with 2C. So before I actually would like to start, be assured that you get everything. I'd say, first of all, you can have a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. Secondly, I will give you the annual report, which is there, with a chart, with a map of this, what I'm talking about. And thirdly, you will have also a brief summary of what I'm saying. So you can write whatever you would like, but in terms of what I present, there is everything on hand. So let me take, first of all, this chance to thank the organizers for having done this excellent job and for having given me the chance to also learn a lot. I was asked yesterday, why did you come? And it's not so much to do with the presentation and other things. I think I came here to learn, especially the health, because I really consider that health in conflict is underrepresented in terms of research, and I'm very happy to be here and to learn. But also let me take the chance to present what we do. Big, I think to some of you known. I heard all you're from the Bonn Center, really right, from the Bonn Center, Bonn International Center for Conversion, what we do, and this is summarized briefly here. It's facilitating peace and development through research, advisory services, and training. That's our core area, and the areas we actually represent are in the scope of peace and development. Also, we talked yesterday already a bit about small arms, light weapons, arms, global trends, export and control, where we do surveys, but also analyze and the reasons why holding arms, and also do or try to do through research and advisory service to really stop the proliferation. Resources and conflict, an interesting subject, and apparently yesterday it was mentioned as one subject which is one works on. That's also one of our major fields. Recently, the last 3 years, migration and conflict, because resources and conflict, others also have definitely an impact on forced migration, migration and conflict, one issue. And the one actually we started with, as a matter of fact, about 15 years ago, we are 15 years in existence, was base conversion, base closures. What we do, as I said, it's the three areas: applied research and advisory service and capacity building. I think some of you, or most of you definitely do know Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Dwight D. Eisenhower is not really known to be a pacifist. As all of you know, he became, in 1951, he became the first Supreme Commander of the NATO. And as you know, the military complex has always been defined by many analysts as a term that denotes a symbolic relationship between a nation's military, economy, and politics. That's why I picked this subject up, and it is a network of individuals and institutions involved in the production of weapons and military technologies. And if we extrapolate the assumption, I think it would really make much sense to assume that a nation whose economic stability relies primarily on its military force would be more inclined to find enemies in order to engage, in order to spur more growth and development, says, for instance, John Leonard Lovick, who also believes that Eisenhower's warning speaks a contemporary problem. And that's the warning he put, and I just want to start with this to come to military expenditure, other expenditures, and the relation between the both. If you have been familiar with the military spending, and it is here last year around 1,464 billion, and in constant terms it would be 1,226 billion. but it was an increase of 4%, and it is definitely the highest spending. It was mentioned yesterday, somebody said, my country, I think the colleague is not here, my country is the one which spends the most on military expenditures, and definitely also at the same time the lowest spending in sub-Saharan Africa. If you imagine that during such a period of 1999 until 2001, the global military spending increased by 45%. 45%, really enormous amount. And this increase definitely is differently spread. The regional distribution is very different, and the highest, for instance, in Eastern Europe, and lowest currently in Western Europe. And some of the conclusions you might be able to draw from these figures, roughly the high increase in emerging economies, very obvious. I mean, we might take the case of some countries, and definitely US has doubled its expenditure, and the low increase in developed countries. I think what is needed in this, in order to assess it and also later on to put it in relation to other expenditures, which I will come to, is more comparable and valid and consistent military expenditure data. It is very obvious through our research, through research of other institutions, that it is not so obvious. Not every country and every military complex definitely shows, I mean, that's what we spend in military. But there are ways and means. For instance, in the OSCE, there is a way to really put this more transparent, and through this transparency, I think the relation to other expenditures can be really assessed much better. I think the data which are reported, the UN has a data report, OSCE and other regional organizations also do have a comparison, but definitely not yet to the extent that it is very clear. We feel that in this particular area also, in order to assess and to say what is in military expenditure, what should be included, is important, and we feel, and that's just not a side effect necessarily, but one of the elements to really increase the participation of also developing nations in reporting military expenditure, and their approach definitely is needed. I think I will skip this in terms of reporting, because I think this is not our subject here, but I just want to raise the element which is necessary in order to get data available. So what I mentioned earlier on is the increase of transparency in military expenditure data is really needed to make it comparable and to have consistent time series and to overcome most state assumptions that more transparency would affect their national security. That's one of the arguments. They say, okay, if we really put all the data at hand, then we don't have this protection. We are not protected anymore. The so-called enemy would know what we do. But there are also other arguments, for instance, in the OECD regional area, where they say, okay, if you do this, then you can also reduce it, because the neighboring country or the region knows what you do.